What up? What up? Welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Happy Tuesday, October 28th. It's almost the end of October, heading into November. So excited. Holiday season is here. Hey, if you celebrate Halloween, that's part of it. But I'm a Thanksgiving and Christmas guy, so I love those two holidays, and it's coming up like real fast. So hope everyone's getting ready for the holiday season. But I have a great guest, a returning guest, back on the show. But before I bring her on, let's get it. Hit my music. Let's go. All right. Once again, welcome to another great episode of the Real Deal Podcast. I'm your host, as always, Courtney Harden. Like I said, happy Tuesday, October 28th, and almost the end of October, heading into November. But before we get started, you can follow the show on all the podcast platforms, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, we're on YouTube, BS3 Network YouTube channel, BS3TVLive.com, iHeartRadio, BS3 Network, Roku channel, and wherever you can get podcasts, you can find the Real Deal there. And you can follow me on all the social media platforms. More active on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Also have Blue Sky and TikTok. So hit me up on there at Get the Real Deal or Courtney Harden. So you can find me there. All right, let me bring in a returning guest. We were chatting right before. We were kind of doing a podcast before we started live and everything too, just catching up. And the last time she was on in March. So she introduced herself and they told her what she does and everything. So she is a host, journalist, sports betting analyst, seen on NASCAR, Fox LA, CNN. Football is sexy. Shout out to Football is Sexy as well. Fox Sports Gambling Team. She does a little bit of everything. So I want to welcome back to the show, which I enjoyed the last time. So had to get her back on, talk a little bit of sports betting and all that. So Erica Renee Davis, welcome to the show. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for having me back. And listen, I was listening to you as I was waiting for you to bring me on, talking about the holiday season. We are in the thick of the holiday season. And I always tell people that by the time August, September comes around, I'm a September baby. I have to really watch my behavior. I can eat my way through
Yes.
September,
Yes.
October, Halloween. I'm a Thanksgiving girly too. I'm from the South. I believe in cornbread dressing
Oh my goodness.
and
Yes. Oh, yes.
macaroni and cheese. And then you got Christmas, eating good for Christmas too. So yes, not only is it the thick of the sports season, it is the middle thick of the holiday season. So
Yes, it
I'm
is.
right there with you.
Yes, you're right. Holiday season, like you're right. My wife says all the time. She said once it's like summer, September is over, she's like, "Yep, it's holiday season." It just rolls right through and everything too. Thanksgiving, Christmas, family, friends, just being around that. And like you said, and we're sports in as well. So yes, usually around this time, you said you got all the sports happening now. World Series, you have
Yes.
NBA, you got NFL. It's in the middle of the seasons right
Yep.
now, mid season NFL. You said end of NASCAR because you cover
Yep.
NASCAR. You got high NHL,
Hockey. Yes.
hockey. Yeah, there's so much going on. So yeah, this is the best time when it comes to sports. You said football, college football, all those things. So
And it
uh,
can it can be overwhelming too, Kai. Courtney, it can be
yeah,
overwhelming. Like
yes.
flipping channels and looking at your social media, trying to see what you missed, what you didn't catch, and
Mhm.
remembering what games you missed. As a matter of fact, I have a confession. Got a
Okay.
confession.
Okay, because
I
that's on the real deal, right? Why not?
I have been in such a deep sports rabbit hole, as I should, because that's my profession.
Yep.
I missed the No Limit Cash Money versus the
Oh, the
other.
verses that came back. Yeah, verses just came back, and yes, Cash Money, No Limit. It was on Instagram. I saw bits and pieces of it because I didn't watch a lot of it either because I forgot about it too, and then I saw it's like, oh. They was doing the introduction and all that. So you know how that is. The intro takes like an hour or whatever.
Right.
What's going on? And I was like, okay, it's getting late. It's getting late. And then yeah, then I saw some of the highlights of it too. But yeah,
Right.
that versus is back too. So yeah,
Versus is back. And then speaking of missing things or missing events, you and I were talking before we went live, and I fell asleep on Game 3 of the World Series.
very
I'm a
good.
West Coaster. You would have thought that I could have powered through and made it all 20, 50, 11
Yeah,
innings.
yeah. There's so many like thousands of innings and
Right. But
yeah.
I dozed off in like the 10th, 11th, woke up around the 14th, and I was like, oh, is it over? It wasn't over. I was asleep on the sofa, woke up again.
Yep.
And then what do you know? LA got the game, got the win.
Yeah,
So
they got the win. Yeah, they got the win in 18 innings, and wow, I mean, who had that over under that was gonna go to 18 innings, right? And so we talk sports betting and everything too.
yeah.
Who would have had that? Like, was that gonna go 18 innings? Yes, it did. It went 18 innings. It was
Yes.
over 6.5 hours of tremendous back and forth. Like I said, Dodgers pulled it off against Toronto. They're up 2-1 in the series. Great series so far
Yes.
as well. I mean, tremendous series. You know, people probably thought, oh, it's gonna be Yankees Dodgers again. Oh, you got Toronto.
Right.
No, this is a really good series so far.
Right, and I wouldn't want to go back to that. I do remember hearing a lot of analysts talk about after the trade, right before the trade deadline in July, that it could be another Yankees Dodgers
Mhm.
October.
Yeah,
And from a perspective of like the business and media perspective, you do want those big names, like you want Lakers, you want Celtics, you want Dodgers, you want Yankees, you want those huge markets. But the Blue Jays have been a beyond respectable team. They have overachieved all regular season. They deserve to be here. I mean, we probably all know that they haven't, won since 1993. So it's been 30 plus years since they've been in the big dance. And I
yes,
think even though like they are not a Yankees, like they aren't a big market team, like the media would love to have, I do love their story. I love their grit, the tenacity. And I love how, even though LA is my home team now, I love how they're giving the Dodgers a run for their money, because
yeah,
the more
no.
exciting the series, the more excited we are as sports fans.
Yeah, absolutely, and I love that too, and I love that for Toronto, Canada in general, but Toronto, because you said the way how they got here to the World Series, you know, they beat Seattle in epic fashion, 7 games.
Oh
They whip up
God,
on the Yankees, you know, so it's just like, yeah, they deserve to be there,
they
and
deserve
now
it.
that they're here, so yeah, it's great that they're able to. To give the Dodgers a run. And people counted the Dodgers. I was like, hey, they're the defending World Series champions. Like, hello, why are you guys counting? Why are people counting them out and everything?
Dude.
You know?
From a betting perspective, the Dodgers have basically been the favorites all
Yes.
all year long. And if you were lucky enough those few times where you could have bought the dip, okay, congratulations. But for the most part, I don't know who like really in their right mind
Yes.
who watches baseball was really counting out the Dodgers.
Mhm.
Just such a great team from top to bottom.
Yes.
And I don't hate on the management either. I know some people would prefer different management, but I think the Dodgers are such a solid force as we see year after year.
Yes, and yeah, they're solid. They're very yeah, you're right. That's a good word for them. Very solid, and it's just what they're able to do is from they said yeah they didn't have the best record in baseball this past season, but
Definitely underperformed from that.
underperformed
Yeah,
from that perspective, but they still was able to put it all together. And like I said, till someone beats them, they're the defending chance, and they're on the verge of looking like they're gonna, there's still a lot of series left. But right now, as of right today, they're up 2-1. But Toronto's giving them a run for their money for sure.
sure.
Yes, definitely. All right, well, let's get into the biggest news in sports betting that's this
Woo,
past week.
woo,
And when
woo.
we were talking before, we were setting this up like a month ago, and
Mhm.
we finally got it. We finally did it, got it together. As you said, we've been busy. You've been busy doing a lot of things. I just see it from afar. We follow each other, see what you've
Mhm.
been doing and everything on panels and hosting
Yes,
and
yes,
a lot of some traveling things like that. So
yes.
it was only right to now, but now we get this news. Big NBA news happened on last Thursday. Federal officials, you got the FBI involved, and big NBA scandal. Uh, that now with this sports betting and mob ties and things like that, it's like what is going on with this? But with this scandal in the NBA, what was your first initial reaction when you first heard the news?
So honestly, my initial reaction, which is what it always is when you have celebrities or people who we perceived to be doing well financially involved, my first reaction always is, why are you doing this? You
Yes.
you don't need the money. You already have you've established a long line of success for yourself in
Yep.
Chauncey's case of being a player, of being a head
Coach.
coach. Terry Rozier, like he has a successful career, successful enough that he should not be doing this. Why, like, are you doing it because you're being bribed for some amount of money that we can't even fathom? That is always my first thing. Okay,
Yeah.
just why? Like, are you that hard up for some extra money? Like, do you need that extra $50,000 that badly? I mean, okay, so that's my first thought. But
Yep.
my second thought is, why compromise the legacy that you built for
Mm,
yourself?
yeah.
And then not just for yourself, but for the game that you say that you love. As an NBA coach, as an NBA player, not only do you represent yourself, your family, you represent the league. And people are already kind of like, turn their nose up at sports betting anyway. And you don't help the cause by being involved in this kind of behavior. Now, the Chauncey thing, correct me if I'm wrong, doesn't seem to be as I don't know, as deeply tied to actual betting on NBA games for what I've seen. Again, correct me if I'm wrong. I feel like his storyline has been tied to poker games.
Poker, yeah,
Poker games, right?
and I think they're trying to tie, not to cut you off, but they think they're trying to
Tell me.
tie the poker. Okay, was he betting with poker on top of that?
On top of that.
Then on top of the with NBA too. But yeah, so his is more rigged games of poker. So yeah, but good, yep,
Right.
yep,
Which, as far as that's concerned, I mean, listen, I don't know anything about that mafia life. Not trying to
yeah, yeah,
learn
yeah.
about it, not trying to know about it. But
No,
in my mind, if that is whatever they got going on the poker side, I feel like so many people have private poker parties. So
yes.
I don't feel like I can speak to that specifically. That's out of my wheelhouse. I got nothing to do with the mafia. But on the
Yeah,
Terry
yeah.
Rozier front, so for folks out there who are kind of getting caught up,
Mhm.
Terry Rozier, essentially, the abbreviated version is that he was removing himself from games so
Yep,
that people would have inside information on how to wager on his player props. And again, for folks who are just getting caught up, player props are essentially lines that odds makers set that
yes,
say, okay, a player in basketball will have X amount of rebounds or assists or points. And if you hit the under, meaning you don't reach that line, then the under bettors who wager on that cash in. But if you go over that number, then people who wagered over, will cash in. So what Terry was doing was literally removing himself from games, feigning injury so that he wouldn't hit any of his player props. So all the folks who had bet on his under would
yes.
cash in.
Mm.
Why?
Why?
That's my question. Why?
That's a good question. That's the question right there. Like
Why?
why? And it's funny because, like I said, like we always had these conversations and things like that. You sound just like her when she said that. She was always saying, "Why? Like why? Like
Yeah,
why are we doing this? You guys are making." Millions and millions of dollars. You talked about the legacy you're building. And you said it's a former, a coach, player, and a former player, Damon Jones as well,
Damon, yeah.
all facing criminal charges in the wake of the scandal. Just like I said, recap: the NBA is facing gambling crisis. Sitting head coach, current player, and former player arrested in connection with two federal indictments related to illegal gambling on games and rigged poker games that had mob ties. So I think on, like I said, on the Chauncey side, I think with the rigged poker games, alleged, and this is all alleged, allegedly.
Allegedly,
Um,
right. Thank you.
yeah, all allegedly, with his poker games. Uh, I guess according to mob ties, I guess the NBA don't want anything to do with that. Like, okay, if he's in rigged poker games with the mob, the NBA as a business doesn't want anything to do with that
Right.
at all.
That's true.
So so we get that part. Terry Rozier, as you alluded to, more of removing himself in games. Like, okay, are you rigging these games? Or what's going on? You're rigging them for the over under player props, all that. So that's another thing. And Damon Jones, he's getting inside information. Is
Yes.
is he pushing that into NBA games to make even more money? As you said, these guys are all millionaires. So
Yes.
so I just trying to find an edge or what's like. The why. That would be my first question. Why too?
Yeah, like why jeopardize so much? And then, to that point, to take it a step further, typically every week I'll do my pocket change picks, which
Yeah.
if you're getting to know me, my pocket change picks are basically I give my favorite plays for the weekend and I call them pocket change picks because I really try to encourage people to bet responsibly. My whole brand of betting is responsible betting.
Yep.
And so when I talk about pocket change picks, I'm talking about literally betting the few dollars that you have to lose, so that if you're going to lose sleep over betting $20 and possibly losing it, then that's too much. If you can bet $5 comfortably, that's good. If your sweet spot is 50, that's your pocket change, more power to you.
Yep.
But I'm saying all that to say, last week I took a step back, and instead of doing pocket change picks, I wanted to give a platform to what happened with Chauncey and Terry
Mm.
and just take a second to do like an educational piece. And even though
Yeah.
what I
Yeah.
covered in my video wasn't specifically related to the player props or to the mafia, alleged mafia poker games, I do feel like as a sports gambling journalist, as someone who's on air talent, I have a responsibility to people who look to me for advice and for insight to know when to read the room and to know when you got to take a chill pill. And to
Yeah.
me,
Right.
last week was take a chill pill week.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I saw you said something on. I think you posted something on
Mm-hmm.
that. I think on your stories you said, and you said, "Hey, you know what? There's a lot going on here." You said people come to look for you as a sports analyst, sports betting analyst, and for advice and or picks and things like that. And this drops, and it's like okay, and then and just the more of the story, they got immediately from the NBA, Rozier and Billups, from this investigation ongoing. Authorities are ongoing, and Rozier's attorney says he's not a gambler. Bill's attorney said the
Right.
same thing. He's alleged role in the rigged poker games. It was that Bills did not gamble on basketball games. So there's some fishy things going on.
Yes.
There's a lot of stuff, and there's still more investigation because there was 30 co-defendants accused in the case
Yes.
along with these NBA figures. So there's so much to peel back on this because he said now sports gambling and sports betting is legal in I don't know how many states now, 40,
Oh,
some
yeah. I
40,
want to say
42,
38. I should know this.
38, 39 states now. So, okay, once it became legal, there was always a chance of this happening, of this. Like I said, sports betting, we've known sports betting been going on for a long time. Now that they legalized it, there was always a chance that this could happen. And
Right.
now that this is a big scandal that has happened now, people are surprised. I'm like, we shouldn't be surprised because it was there was this chance that this could happen.
Right. Well, the thing is, and I've seen this argument too. People say, okay, well, before sports betting was legal, it's 39 states. Before sports betting was legal, basically across the entire United States, there was already this kind of nefarious behavior going on.
Mm,
And I think what has changed it now that it's legal in most of the United States, there's more oversight. And with
mm,
more oversight
yep,
means that you can uncover more of this nefarious activity. So I'm not particularly of the mind frame that there's, more bad activity going on or more illegal activity.
right.
I think it's just, okay, we have more information. We have more avenues to catch I don't want to say bad guys, but, catch folks who are doing things outside of the parameters of what they should be. And we have more platforms, social media, the news cycle is 24/7 on social media. We have more ways to amplify it, what's going wrong with it. But as a journalist, as someone who gives picks, as a content creator, I feel like it's up to us to protect the future of sports betting
Mm,
by giving the educational perspective, by making sure people know you can bet, you can gamble, you can have fun. The same way you can go out and have drinks with your friends, but you might see a DUI, commercial to say, hey, bus driving is drunk driving. I can give you picks and also still tell you the best way to manage your money, whether it's through bankroll management. I can tell
mhm.
you about, making sure you're educated on the different ways to bet, money lines, spreads, player props. I think so that we can preserve the longevity of the industry, we have to take this moment as an inflection point and say, hey, what do we need to do to buckle down right now as people are looking at our industry with the side eye to say we are serious about protecting the integrity of sports and also protecting betting as a whole moving forward.
That's very well said, and that was it. That was like you said, the future of sports betting. Because, like I said, this happened, the scandals happened, and like I said, it's ongoing investigation. And then you said the education of it. Now, like I said, you took
Yes.
a step back. It said in this space and said, hey, we can educate people. He said bankroll management, and because I like to gamble too. I like to dabble in it here and there,
Yes.
and I love doing that. Like when the NBA started, I was all in with, and again, it does. Yes, does it have a black eye on the NBA for sure in sports? Yes, it does.
Yeah.
But I was listening to a podcast. It was like maybe a day after, and the person had said people were still was going out there still in the sports books and doing and gambling and doing and they were this didn't stop them at all.
Mhm.
But
Mhm.
he said it takes a step back, education, learning. Okay, these types of things does happen, but you just said not everything is protecting the integrity of the sports, but not all this it doesn't always happen this way. It's
Yes.
just happened to be there's a few people that have done this or doing this. I'm sure there's more. I'm sure there's a lot more for sure.
Right.
But it does make you wonder because we're going back what Adam Silver said. His public comments said
Oh,
this.
yeah.
He's deeply disturbed by the allegations. He says nothing more important until he said the integrity, for the fans and the competition of the sport. But he said he was one of the only commissioners to have embraced having legalized gambling in it.
Right.
He knew what could happen, but he's one of the ones that have said, "I embrace this. Just got to do it responsibly."
You got to do it responsibly. And I think a lot of people, and listen, everyone's entitled to their own opinion and to their own thoughts and feelings. And I know that, in our country and probably obviously across the globe, we do have to be sensitive to the fact that people have addictive personalities. And
Yes,
so, again, that's where the education comes in. But to your point about Adam Silver being one of the commissioners agreeing to sports betting and the league being kind of like hand in hand, I think if you get ahead of it and you say, okay, we can be partners, but let's build
yeah,
out an infrastructure where being partners still gives the foundation for folks who want to participate to be responsible.
yep.
And that could look like a lot of different things. Obviously, what Terry Rozier was doing, that is very irresponsible. That is not what responsibility looks like. So and I know like during the finals, especially during any kind of season where there's a playoff game on the line, it doesn't have to be just NBA. We're looking at the refs like, oh, that was a bad call. Like, they're swaying the game one way or another. Like as sports fans, we're gonna always find a way to criticize the game, whether
Yes,
it's the refs, whether it's us thinking somebody's faking an injury. Even last week, everyone's giving Harbaugh a hard time saying that they were, faking Lamar Jackson's return so that the Bears could, basically game plan for him and talking about him getting in trouble for like misrepresenting his injury. So
right. Yep.
there's so many different ways that we as fans or the leagues will come down on you for not being, I don't know, forthcoming. Betting is just one of those. It's just another one of those things, and we just have to like make sure that everyone, all the partners are being responsible and that players know that the repercussions are going to be serious. Like
Yes.
maybe it's losing your pension. I don't know. I don't want people to lose their livelihoods, but I'm like, also, you're doing something crazy like that. You
Yeah.
need to know that the consequences are going to be so severe that you wouldn't even think about doing it. So I think that's what the league has to do when it comes to
Yes,
players.
I agree. They if players or athletes are going to do this, and you said they need to really hammer down on them and really put it out there. Like, hey, if you gamble on your own sport or if you gamble in this way, you can lose some salary, something that would make because I said there's so many different things, there's so many different angles you say you can take on this and everything too. But you said I think education is the biggest key. You talked about
Yeah,
that. I think it's the biggest key of all this and everything too. You said they did some. This is very it's very complicated. And on top of
it
that,
is.
and there's so many layers to it. It's one of those things like man, but like I said, professional athlete they should know better for one. And like I said, they got millions and millions of dollars, but he said it's an addiction. It can be an addiction. It
It
can
could
really
be.
be. be an
It could
addiction.
be an addiction, and I would imagine that someone like Terry Rozier, allegedly, or anyone else who has been in that position where they have allowed themselves to be used, to make sure that they're under hits or whatever. Maybe it's an ego thing, maybe I don't know, like to study the psycho like dynamics of making that decision. To me, that's out of my wheelhouse as
Yeah, no.
well. But I would love to know what the mentality, like, what are you like where does your mind go mentally? Like, what is the psychoanalysis of a person like that in that position who decides to put himself in a more jeopardizing position?
Jeopardized position, yeah,
Eh,
because you lose your job, you lose your the integrity, and now you can go
Yeah,
to prison. All those things, like I said, it's a psychological, probably some ego, I'm sure. Uh, Somebody comes to them and maybe it's an offer they can't refuse. I don't know. It's very very strange, but
yeah,
I can there's just certain things you're like thinking. I don't. This don't sound. This is not right. I'm not gonna do this. I'm a professional athlete, and if I even get caught even thinking about something like this,
right.
you
Well,
know, there's a lot of consequences.
to that point, talking about thinking about it in professional athletes, what about how the NCAA
Mm,
has approved that you can, or college athletes and administrators and staff can bet, but now can bet on professional sports, but they
yeah.
obviously can't bet on their sports. And how do you feel about that, Courtney?
Mm, that's NCAA, and that's again, that's another slippery slope of things. You have college athletes, and if they're able to bet, it's because then again they can actually throw games too. They can actually do that when it comes to again March Madness is always a lot of money involved when it comes to March Madness and things
Right.
like that. So I don't know. I really don't feel like colleges I don't think should be able to do that. I really don't think so. Because of with education and all that too. So yeah, I think when you make it to the professional level, then when it comes to that. But yeah, I don't think so. What do you think?
Yeah. Okay. So I just want to make sure that people out there understand that what we're talking about. So we're not
Yeah,
talking about college athletes betting on their own sports. We're
all
talking about
sports,
college
right?
athletes, yeah, betting on professional sports.
Perfect.
And so I I'm going to say no to that too. And let me tell you why. I'm going to say no to that because if you're a collegiate athlete, you're, let's say, a top 10 prospective draft pick, which
Mm-hmm.
means you got friends in the league, which means not only do you have friends in the league, you have inside information about
Yes, yes, absolutely.
what some of those players are doing or not doing when it comes to practice injuries. Okay, so that's one facet. And then another facet is this: when you have your phone in your hand, most of us like place wagers like with our phones in our
Yep.
hands, whatever sports book you use, whatever. And you got, let's say you're a college athlete, whatever. Right next to your sport I'm sorry, like the NFL or NBA, the professional sports are just a click over from your sport.
Well, yes, well,
And
yeah,
so I again think, as someone who loves like sports betting, I love sports gambling. I
yeah,
love that you become so much more knowledgeable about different sports
mhm,
from knowing about how to gamble on them. I think is, one of the greatest things to help us become more knowledgeable and more well versed about a variety of sports. So I love it. But for college athletes to have in the palm of their hands the ability to bet on professional sports, knowing that their own sport is literally one click over, I'm not with it.
yeah.
Yeah, I'm personally
I'm
not
not
with
with it either. I'm with you on that because as you said, a good point on that. Like getting insider information, as you said, they might be a lot of these college athletes. They're friends with the professional athletes.
it. Right,
So if they're especially if they're very close to them and they're talking to them and they're thinking, "Hey, are you playing tonight?"
right,
Uh,
right.
and they're like, "No, no, I'm out on injury. An hour before kickoff or hour before tip off," and they're like, "Oh, okay, I can now move this player from my lineup."
Yes.
And then nobody else might know. I know until they might not know until like 20 minutes before tip off or kickoff or an hour before tip off. I have the information. I have the inside information. Oh, what are you doing? Well, what's the game plan for this? Yeah,
Hmm.
what's some of the angles? So yeah, when it comes to that, yeah, I'm not with it either. I don't think they should be able to have access to. But then again, how do you stop that too? It's like you said, people have their phones and
Hmm.
they can use different. They can use a fake name, username, and still be able to bet. Like
I mean,
how can you stop that? You
I
know?
I think just like any law, you can't. There's no foolproof 100% way to stop any whole group of people from disobeying a rule or a law. So that's one thing. But I do think that when certain parameters are put in place,
Mm.
and you know that if you get caught, there will be some level of consequences. I think that does serve as a detractor for people who want to not get in trouble. Like if I'm driving down the road or the highway and I haven't seen a speed limit sign for 5 miles, I might do 35, I might do 65, I might do 75 if the spirit leads me that way. But
Yeah.
if I see something that says 65 miles per hour at every mile marker, I'm more likely going to adhere to that than if there was nothing
Yeah.
along the road at all.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, like you said, there can be some parameters that you could put in place and everything to some people. But like I said, once sports gambling, sports betting became legal, there's always that chance of someone just saying, "Hey, you know what? Hey, now it's legal. I could just do whatever and just go however I want to go." But there's got to be parameters when it comes to that, especially with college athletes
yeah,
for sure. Once they get older and they get, they're in the professional, even though they, not betting on your own sport
not
again,
bidding. You're right,
you
totally.
know, on that. But it's a slippery slope. It's
Yeah,
what gambling has always been. Sports betting has always been, but
right.
it's the education,
Yeah,
education.
got to get the education.
Yeah,
Got to get the education.
yep, you talked about that, and I think that's very important. It's very important. So, all right, let's transition into what you've been up to since the last time we spoke. I'm sure you've been really busy. You said we follow each other, so we know
Yes,
things like that. So, but since
yes,
March, you said
yes.
so much has happened over the past, what's that, 6 months, 7 months now.
Yeah.
But yeah, how what you've been doing, what you've been up to, and everything too. And you said now it's really the busy time of the sports
It's
year.
go time in the sports
Yeah.
world. So I would say some of the highlights of my past several months since you and I last caught up on the podcast here. I got a chance to go to the Fantasy Football Expo
Yes,
in
yes.
Canton. It was my first time going to the Fantasy Football Expo, and I have played fantasy football before. I used to play with the league in a league with a bunch of my friends from Georgia. And I think I was the only girl in the league, and our league kind of folded because, as you know, as a commissioner, I was not the commissioner, but
Mhm.
as a commissioner, you got a lot of organizing to do. So that's really
Yes.
why it folded. But I've never played super, super seriously until this year. And I love how there's so much overlap between sports betting and fantasy and how the two different worlds can kind of inform one another. But essentially went to the Fantasy Football Expo for the first time. Canton was beautiful. The fantasy football family is so tightly knit and so much fun and so lit, so crunk. I had the best time. I had an impromptu tour guide. I was able to speak on several different panels, one of which was the Women in Fantasy Football panel, which was absolutely incredible. I sat alongside women like Lindsay Rhodes, Amber Phillips, Kamini, who you actually had, I think, on
Mhm.
your podcast a few
Yep.
weeks ago. Just, the who's who of the fantasy football world when it comes to women. That was one thing that I absolutely cannot stop talking about. Did a couple of hits on Fox 11. One of them was for NFL kickoff, Fox's football. And
Yeah.
I was really excited to jump on and talk about some fun ways to get into football because, you and I, Courtney, are diehard sports folks. We can
Yes.
just sit here and talk till we're blue in the face
Right,
about
yeah. Hours
anything,
and
all
hours.
things
Yep.
sports.
Mhm.
Right. But
Yeah.
when I hopped on for NFL kickoff on Fox 11 here in Los Angeles, I wanted to make sure that people can find fun ways to get into the action. So I talked about how you can, get into the philanthropy of football because a lot of
Mhm.
football players have community service driven initiatives that they back and they help fund. I talked about how fashion is really big in football. The Justin Jeffersons, the who else? The Stephon Diggses of the world. So if you are into fashion, you can probably find a football player who's into fashion. The fantasy football element. So that's one way I'm trying to get more people, more of the casual fans, excited about football if you're not diehard like us. Um, Football is sexy. I started working with Monica Madrid on Football is
Yep.
Sexy, and that has been just such like a wild but fun ride. So
Mhm.
Been busy, honey.
Yeah,
Been
you've been
busy.
busy. Yes, you've been busy. That's why I was like, okay, I'm going to wait to like I said to reach out to you. I know I can reach out to you anytime, and you'll be like, yes, let's set up a date, let's do it. But I was like, you know what, busy. And he said, I've been to the fantasy football expo. I went to. Was it been 2 years now? 2 years ago,
Okay.
yes. I went 2 years ago, 2023. Yes, 2023. I went in there, had a tremendous time. Had
So much
so much fun.
fun.
It is so much fun, and people have been trying to get me to come back out there. I had a few things I could, timing wise, it's like right in the middle of summer. It's usually August. I think
Yep.
next year's gonna be in the July, I believe. I think Bob Long just shout out to Bob Long. He just
Yes.
I think put out the date for. 'Cause he's always a year ahead, so he's always thinking,
Hmm.
how can I get this bigger and better and everything too. So I've been to Canton, had enjoyed myself. I saw the fancy football, the women of fancy football panel. I saw that you guys did tremendous. Like I said, it's a who's who
Yeah.
that as well. And I've had a lot of those women on the show.
Yes.
The Lindsay Rose comedy, yourself, Rachel Tootsie Pop, who,
Oh, Rachel. Oh my God.
yeah,
Yes, Rachel.
yes, yes. 'Cause I think she's the host. She was the host. She
Yes, she
created this, yeah,
organized it. Her
organized it.
unwind,
Yeah,
yeah,
unwind.
she
Yep. Hmm.
unwind organizer. Yeah, shout out to Rachel. I actually also spoke at one of her unwind
Hmm.
events, one of her unwind virtual events. So yes, I forgot about Rachel. I can't, yes, Rachel, shout out to you for
Yes, big
doing the
time,
damn
right?
thing.
She's
Yes.
yeah, she's setting up so much with unwind and just bringing women, having a space. She always has a safe space for women and just to chat and kind of just talk about the ins and outs of things, life in general,
Yeah.
as well. And I've had Rachel on quite a few times, good friend of the show. So yeah, shout out to her. But yeah, it was yeah, the expo is always fun. Canton was fun and everything too. You have the parties, you have the expo itself,
Right.
the panels,
The
they have
panels.
yeah,
I know this is not like a commercial or an advertisement for the expo, but honestly, for folks out there who are watching and listening, if you've never been to a fantasy football expo in Canton, again, I was a newbie this year, so take my word for it. But
yep,
it is so well worth it. It's Canton in itself is a pretty like small
it's
community,
a small community. Yep,
so the party, like we, the fantasy football folks who are coming to the expo, we bring the party. And
yes,
so
yes,
everyone kind of knows everybody and the vibe, it's good vibes, it's positive vibes.
mhm.
It's really a good time. So if you are into fantasy football, if you're just into football in general and want something else to add to your travel calendar for next year, you should 1,000% consider doing the fantasy football expo in Canton. A good time. You will not regret it.
You would not regret it. And people always ask, like, I say, even if you go one time, if you just go
Hmm.
one time, they say if you're not in the party scene, it's fine. They got live drafts. They do drafts.
Yes.
They
Oh,
you
the
know
live drafts.
Yeah,
Yes.
they do live. They have so many live drafts. If you're into the expo, they have the expo. There's so many
Hmm.
vendors and just in general, people. Except you don't have to be into fantasy football or football. If you want to just go just for the Hall of Fame, you get a ticket to the Hall of
Yes.
Fame, the Hall of Fame Museum, the Hall of Fame shop. You can do that. The
Yes.
restaurants there. You have
Oh my God, the restaurants at the on the Hall of Fame campus were so
campus.
good.
Good. They were really good. They were really good.
Let's talk about the beers that I had. The beers were, yes. Listen. I'm ready to go back for the beers alone,
Yeah,
honey. Yes.
yes, that food was. Oh my goodness! I think it's the Don Shula. I think it's yeah Don Shula restaurant. Oh, so good.
Yes.
It was so good. Oh my goodness. I ate it twice, I believe. It was so good. That food was so good
Yeah.
and everything too. But like you said, in the camaraderie, it was yeah, it was tremendous. It was a good time. I'm gonna try to make it out there again for sure.
Yes. Do it. Do it.
Sometime,
Do it.
sometime in the next year or so. For sure, definitely. So yeah, if you get a chance to go, definitely for the panels, everything, you can go to any panel you want. I mean, they have like I said, sports betting panel, they have the fantasy football panel,
Yep.
they have a little bit of everything. That if you're into DFS, they got that as
Hmm.
well. So yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun for sure. But like I said, you were part of these panels and everything too, educating them and kicking,
Yeah.
doing a lot of different things. What you think of the panels that you were on and just in general?
Yeah, I mean, the all the panels were very informative. Again, if you are really, really, really into fantasy football, there were some panels for that. If you are more of a casual, fantasy
Mhm.
football person or casual better, there were some panels for that too. One of the panels that I was on was called Betting 101.
Yep.
And I appreciated that one because, again, as someone whose brand is responsible gambling, responsible betting, sometimes whether you're a girl or a guy, doesn't matter. You get intimidated not knowing the verbiage and like how to
Mm,
talk about it. You
yeah.
can be the biggest football fan and tell me any stat from the past 20 years, but not understand the money line, not understand the spread, not understand what a player prop is, not understand a teaser, a flyer. Like, and that is what I was happy that I was able to speak to on one of those, on one of the 101 panels, or on the panel that talked about betting 101. Because it's not just, oh, betting for girls. No, it's betting for casual people who, when they're watching the NBA finals or you're watching the Super Bowl, you're watching Sunday night football, and you see all those lines come across, the plus
Mhm.
6,000, you follow me or you go to some of the panels that I spoke on, you're going to have a better understanding of what those numbers are. So you can talk more eloquently to not only the game itself, but to what the lines mean. And so that's why
Yeah.
I'm always appreciative of those kinds of opportunities.
Yeah, and I'm glad. I'm glad when I saw you was going to be part of these panels. I was like, oh yeah,
Mm.
I'm glad. I was so glad for you to jump on the panel. And then that's when Rachel, she announced it on. She actually announced it on my show that she was going to have a fantasy. She was starting to get a fantasy football. I said, I got an announcement, and it's going to be women of fantasy football, and I'm organizing it now. And she said, I'm getting the panel together, and I saw your name. I said, oh yes, for sure. This, I love that. Love seeing that. Just all like I said, just the growth. And like I said, we're a content
Mhm.
creator, a sports better, fancy football player, whatever you are. Just make you can make it to try to make it to Canton,
Yes.
just for just for that experience as well. So, all right, just got two more before I let you go. Like I said, we talk about all the sports that's going on right now.
So
Everything that's going
much.
on right now.
So
So
much.
much,
Whew, so
so
much.
much going on. How do you balance all those? Trying to, like you said, you're playing fantasy football, or just football in
Yes.
general, and you're betting on maybe college or NBA, all these things. How can you balance that? I mean, I know for
Okay.
me it's hard, but as you said, you do this for a living. How
I
do you balance
do.
these? How do you balance this?
I'm gonna be honest. I'm gonna be 1,000% transparent. So Amber Phillips, if you're watching, I'm in one of her fantasy leagues, and then Rachel Tootsie, if you're watching, I'm also in your fantasy league. The fantasy is what ends up getting the short end of the stick. That is
Mm,
what ends up getting this short end of the stick, because I'm in three fantasy leagues, those two that I just mentioned, and then I'm also in a futures fantasy league. But the futures league, we did all of our futures like at the beginning of the season, and so because
right.
futures means that we are betting or wagering on things to happen over the course of the season. So we did that draft, and I'm done. Done. Don't look at it anymore until like toward the end of the season. But with fantasy football, as you know, you got to set your lineup, you got to get on the waiver wire. And I'm like, y'all, we got football. We got football, Thursday night football. We got Sunday football. So basically almost every other week, I gotta worry about my wire and my trades
Waiver
and my
wire and
waivers.
all that. Yep.
And then, and now we're the part of the NFL season where teams are on buys. I'm like,
Eyes got so many injuries
so
and
many
got
injuries.
to pay attention
So
to all that. Yep.
yeah, so that is what honestly gets the short end of the stick on for me. But other than that, I mean, we are rolling. And one of the things that I'm really excited about, I also contribute to Fantasy Sports Advice Network, and I have a new show called Front Porch Fantasy,
Okay.
that we did launch our first episode, but we are going to shoot our next episode beginning of November, and I'm super excited about that because it'll be a place where I talk to not only, players who used to play, but sports gamblers or fantasy football experts, or you might even, see some of your favorite actors on there from time to time who are
Okay.
just diehard sports
Yeah.
fans. It literally is going to be like sitting on Erica's front porch where we're talking all things sports, fantasy,
I
and
love
betting.
that.
So that's one of the things that I'm most excited about toward the end of the year.
All right. Well, I love that. I love that for you. Like you said, just launching different things. And you said getting access and being able. You said you're always good at, as you said, education
Hmm.
and not just giving picks out and things like that. You said, and then when we first talked, you said, okay, that's the easy part. You can just give. I can give you winners of this is who I think is going to win this football game and things like that. But I'm giving you why I feel this way with
Yeah.
with backups of information, things like
Mhm.
that. So I think I enjoy that. And I'm glad you got a new show coming up as well. So I definitely will be on the lookout for
Yes.
that, and everything too. And you talk about the fantasy football thing. Yes, it's fantasy football is almost like a job. It's
It's
like
like
a
it's like
it is.
having a child. I'm like,
Yeah, it's a job. It is a job.
every time I look up, I'm like, damn, y'all want something else I gotta do something else for you. Like,
Yes,
no,
yes,
it really is like having a child or a pet. Like for
mhm.
real.
You
Like
got to really pay attention.
yeah,
Yes.
pay attention to this thing. I'm like, I thought I drafted so well in both of my leagues, and I have like I think a winning record, like 4-2 or 4-3 one. I'm like, oh, and I got a lot of points. I'm like, oh, this is easy. The first two,
Yep.
3 weeks where no teams were on buys, nobody was hurt. But then
Yep.
it's like when you buy a plant, it's like, oh, the plant's so pretty when you bring it home from the
Yes.
store, but then
Mhm.
you gotta water it. You gotta water the plant. I don't want to water the plant. For the plant to thrive on its own.
Yes, yes, it is. And the interesting thing when I talk, I've been playing fantasy football for goodness 20, I'll say about 20 something years. I'll say that over
Right.
20 years. So I've been
Okay.
playing a lot of fantasy sports, but fantasy football for sure. And when I'm talking to other fantasy analysts and just people that just love fantasy football, and one of the questions I always ask, like, what makes a good fantasy manager? And
Mm,
everybody has their own different opinions and different answers. But everyone always says when you play fantasy football, it's not just the draft is one part of it. It's like 1/10 of that is the
yes.
draft. It's more of paying attention, like I said, to the waiver wire, paying attention to the news, paying attention to somebody who gets benched. You got to really it's like
You
that you're
do.
managing. You're like almost managing your own. You're in your own team. You're the coach of this team,
It's
and
like having a child.
yeah, it's like, yeah, I am the child. Yes, and then you really got to pay attention because look, like right now, I'm always I'm addicted to fantasy football. So I'm looking at like, okay, who can I pick up here? Okay, who's on the waiver wire? Who did well this past week? And everything too. Oh, I got a chance to pick them up, and everything too. But there's others that doing it. The managers are also in our league do the same exact thing and everything too. So when you don't get that person that you had on the waiver wire that you claim
Right.
the waiver for, you're like, okay, I got to pivot to this one. Got to pivot to this one. Okay, I'm looking weeks ahead. Who am I playing against this? So yeah, it's something.
I think next year, honestly, don't tell anybody I'm saying this. Next year, I'm going to hire somebody off of what's that platform? Fiverr.
Oh
Fiverr.
yeah,
I'm
Fiverr.
gonna
Yeah,
hire. I'm gonna pay somebody $5 a week to manage my
manage
pets.
your team. You got to definitely especially if you're in a money league and
Yeah,
any type of money, or if you're just doing it for fun and you just for bragging rights, you really are like yes, you are managing it and
I'm gonna
everything.
pay somebody.
Yes, because because like I said, I'm in my podcast league we've been doing for the last 6 years now, and I'm always in the mix. Always, I've made a championship. I haven't won, which I've been upset about. So I've been obsessed. Like I'm obsessed of trying to win,
Your
and
time is
always have
coming,
a
Courtney.
yeah.
Your time is coming.
Always got a great record. I have a bye for the first for the playoff, and then lose or maybe right the final and all this. So this time now I'm 6-2. I'm
Okay.
again got a really good record just doing what I always do. So I'm really, really like obsessed with it. It's addicting. It is
Yeah.
addicting. Sure.
Yeah.
So trying to win. So trying to win this money and win the bragging rights. So
Amen.
for sure. But Erica, always a pleasure catching up with you. I'm so glad that we got to catch up
Yes.
before this busy holiday season
Yes.
coming up as well. But let everyone know where they can follow you. Follow, like I said,
Yes.
follow your picks,
Yes.
for the education first and
Yes.
foremost. And like I said, it's always a pleasure talking with you. So yeah, let everyone know they can follow you on social media.
Yeah, the main place to follow me on social media is Instagram at Erica Renee D. Sometimes you'll get stuff on my stories that you might not get on my actual static page, but my pocket change pics I put on my static page at Erica Renee D, ERICARENEED on Instagram. Same thing on Twitter. Honestly, I had kind of taken a break from Twitter for a second there, but after the Fantasy Football Expo and I met so many people, meeting so many people there, I'm now getting active on Twitter again. So Twitter at Erica Renee D. TikTok, I'm just really starting to build up my TikTok presence.
Okay.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I am on there. Am on there. So bear with me. Charge it to my mind, not my heart. But on TikTok, I'm at Erica Renee D Bets. So Erica
Okay.
Renee D, Erica Renee D Bets. Follow
Excellent.
me, follow me, follow me, follow me,
Right.
follow
You
me.
type Erica Renee Davis on Google and everything.
Yes.
Follow, subscribe, like all those
Yes.
things
Yes.
as well. So, and like I said, if you're into not just sports betting, but like I said, the education, you always do a tremendous job
Thank
with
you.
that, and giving out picks, giving out bets. But the fact of just having fun and being responsible with the betting, I know that you really harp on that as well. So, but I appreciate the time, appreciate you, appreciate all you do as well. So, thanks again, and really appreciate it. Enjoy the holidays with you and the family as
Yes.
well, and I'm sure we'll be doing this once again
We'll
and
do it again.
yeah.
And go dogs. Go dogs. Y'all know I'm a Georgia
Oh,
dog.
you
So
Georgia Bulldogs,
go,
yeah, go Dogs, college
go,
football,
go
and
dogs, sick 'em. Say a prayer for us. We play Florida's trap game this week.
oh
But
yeah, always those are, and like I said, college football is getting in the thick of it all. We should be getting the playoff rankings soon. I
next
think
week, I think
next
next
week,
week
actually,
is
yeah,
the first CFP
yeah,
ranking
CFP
show.
college
So
rankings, yeah. So that's always a big thing as well. So yeah, that's a so yeah, be on the lookout for all those things that Erica's got coming up, the new podcast, all those things
yes.
as well. So like I said, follow, like, and subscribe. So Erica, thanks again, really appreciate it, and enjoy the holidays.
Yes.
All right, you have a good one.
You too.